I heard the music before I even turned onto my street. Bass shaking the windows, laughter echoing like a summer festival. But it wasn't a festival, it was my backyard. When I pulled in, there were cars lined up across my driveway, people splashing in my brand new pool, kids throwing chips into the water, adults drinking on my deck. 50 people, maybe more. I froze when I saw her, Karen Whitmore, our HOA president, standing there with her wine glass clipboard and that smug smile. "Oh, James," she said, "you're early. We decided to host the community pool day here this year. Technically, your property is HOA common space, right?" She laughed like she'd done me a favor. I just stood there gripping my phone so tight my hand shook. My gate was wide open. My grill dragged out my daughter's pink towel, trampled into the mud. I wanted to scream, but instead I said quietly, "You're all swimming in my patience, not my pool." That night I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about how she said technically HOA property. My stomach turned every time I replayed her words. I'd spent 2 years saving for that pool. It was supposed to be our family's safe space. But that day it felt like a war zone. The next morning I stepped outside. The water was murky gray, floating trash, broken chairs, muddy footprints everywhere. My daughter Emma came running, hair still tangled from sleep. "Dad, can we still have my birthday party?" she asked. My wife Claire knelt beside her, voice trembling. "Not this weekend, honey. Maybe next time." Emma's face fell, that quiet kind of heartbreak that doesn't fade. And then I saw it, a white envelope taped to our door. "Notice maintenance fees will be divided equally among participating households." Claire laughed bitter. "They trashed our yard and want us to pay for it." I didn't laugh. I just felt this strange calm, cold and heavy. This wasn't about noise. It was about power. They decided what was theirs, and dared me to disagree. I went to the next HOA meeting. The clubhouse smelled like carpet cleaner and control. Karen sat at the head of the table like a queen. "Thanks to everyone who made our annual pool day such a success," she began, and people actually clapped. Of course, she added sweetly, "Some residents misunderstood property boundaries, but we'll clarify those soon." I raised my hand. "You mean my backyard?" Her smile didn't falter. "Technically, Mr. Carter, since your pool is adjacent to the community area, it's part of a shared visibility zone. It's legally flexible." Flexible. That word made my skin crawl. I didn't argue. I just pressed record on my phone, thumb steady. When she turned to me and said, "You were such a good sport about the whole thing," I smiled back. "I understand perfectly." And I did. I understood that she thought she could rewrite reality and everyone would play along. Over the next few days, things changed. Neighbors stopped waving. Conversations cut short when I walked by. My name was poison. Then came the email, a $120 recreation maintenance fee, my address tagged "Event Host Property Allocation 80%. They were billing me for their own mess. A week later, another letter violation notice for unauthorized gatherings. They were fining me for the same party they threw. I felt my throat tighten, that slow panic when you realize you're being trapped by rules written to protect the people breaking them. Claire begged me to let it go. "They're not worth it," she said. But she didn't see Emma's face that morning by the pool. She didn't feel that humiliation the way power pretends to be community. One night I pulled out the thick property binder that came with the house. Page after page of clauses, bylaws, signatures, until I found it: pool and adjacent yard remain a private, non-common element exempt from HOA jurisdiction. My pulse spiked. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't powerless. Then, out of nowhere, a knock on my door. Marcus, the new neighbor. He glanced around nervously, handed me a folder. "You should see this." Inside were HOA meeting minutes scribbled in red ink. "Annual community use Carter property." They'd added that line after the vote, forged it into the record. He whispered, "I've got recordings too. You're not the only one." That was the moment everything flipped. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. For the next week I became obsessed. Every email, every HOA document, every invoice, I saved them all. I made copies, highlighted signatures, cross-checked dates. Claire watched me hunched over the dining table at midnight. "You sound like your old self again," she said. She didn't mean it as a compliment, but maybe it was. The next meeting came faster than I expected. Karen started the same way, fake, cheer-polished tone. "Let's move forward from recent misunderstandings," she said. "After all, Crescent Ridge is about unity." I stood up. My voice was calm. According to Article 14, Section 3, the pool at 242 Carter Drive is private property, not shared, not flexible. And your minutes show unauthorized alteration, your handwriting, your signature. Her smile cracked. "Let's not turn this into a courtroom," she said sharply. I held up the printed bylaws. "You already did." Gasps rippled through the room. Alan, the HOA secretary, looked down ashamed. Karen's face flushed red. She started to talk something about misunderstanding, but the words fell apart. I left before the meeting ended. I didn't need applause. I just needed her to know I wasn't afraid. 2 days later, Alan showed up at my door. He looked pale, eyes darting like a man holding dynamite. "I can't keep this up," he said. He handed me a folder. Inside were the real invoices, misused funds, falsified votes, fake maintenance expenses. "You were the trigger," he admitted. "Half the board wants out." That night, Marcus and I compiled everything: audio files, financial records, statements from 2 other neighbors. We sent the entire package anonymously to the county audit office. A week later, the inspectors arrived unannounced. Karen tried to manage the optics, the pearl earrings, the clipboard that practiced smile, but you can't charm your way out of numbers. Every lie she told had a receipt. Every community expense had a missing check. When the county report came out, it was 10 pages long. 10 pages of corruption, every dollar misused, every law broken. They called an emergency HOA meeting. Karen stood there, voice trembling for the first time. "We just need to regroup," she insisted. But Alan interrupted. "No." I moved to dissolve the current board. The vote was quick, unanimous. Karen froze, her world collapsing under fluorescent lights. The woman who once dictated every hedge height, every paint color, every noise complaint stood there speechless as the county officials read her violations out loud. She didn't even try to argue. She just gathered her papers, head down, and walked out. No one clapped. No one smiled. Just silence, heavy, liberating silence. Afterward, I walked home through the quiet streets of Crescent Ridge. The lawns looked the same, but something in the air had shifted. For the first time, people were talking freely on their porches again. I passed the clubhouse and saw my reflection in the dark glass, tired eyes, but steady. I thought about Emma, about that ruined birthday party, about the humiliation of watching strangers in our pool, and for the first time in months, I felt peace. Not victory, just peace. Because that's what power really fears, not anger, not shouting, but proof. Proof that they can't rewrite the truth when someone's willing to stand up and say no more. Maybe they called it a community. But what they built was control and real community. You can't force that. You earn it one act of courage at a time.